Hi, thank you all for being here today to listen to me talk about recession. Have you ever considered starting a business or investing or entering the market? Well, if so, a recession is something that can have a very large impact on your decision to invest and on the overall market. Going into what a recession is defined by the International Encyclopedia of Social Studies as a decline in GDP. So GDP, technically, let's think about it in terms of how a country is measured in the amount of money and services it takes in. So if a consumer is spending money, it would go into the GDP of a country. If an economy is growing, consumers are spending more. If its economy is stagnant, then consumers aren't spending. And if consumers are saving more money, the economy is in a recession due to it shrinking. Typically, the duration of a recession is from 6 to 18 months. However, historically, these time periods have been getting shorter and shorter. The biggest role in what causes a recession is consumer confidence. So if a consumer is worried about the current state of the market or the economy, they'll choose to save their money rather than spend it. Since they're saving money, there's less money going towards businesses, less money in the stock market, and GDP will shrink, causing a recession. Going into specific causes of a recession, market events are probably the number one cause of what can change this consumer's willingness to spend and sense of confidence. The big market event can be the stock market falling. Businesses often rely on stocks and bonds and loans to go through different day-to-day functions. They use these stocks and bonds to create business plans, to grow, and to overall just nourish the business. If there's a bad stock market, this could lead consumers not to spend their money on these stocks and bonds and loans, and therefore the businesses will have less money to spend. So if the consumer isn't investing and the businesses aren't investing, GDP will be lower, and therefore your economy will shrink, entering a recession. A good example of this is in 2008, there was a real estate crisis that had a large impact on the stock market. Financial instruments created by different investment banks and commercial banks that were highly complex eventually popped and failed. This failure of their financial instruments within the real estate market caused stocks to fall and create an overall market collapse that started an economic recession. Another event that can cause a recession can be monetary policy. Monetary policy is policy created by the government that has an overall impact on the value of the currency and how interest rates are determined. So, the government makes these monetary policy decisions to regulate markets and banks. Since it's affecting the currency, the main thing you have to look at is deflation or inflation. So, inflation is any time you have an increase in the overall buying power of the dollar or a decrease in currency value. If you have these periods of rapid, unregulated inflation and deflation, when the government has inept monetary policy and can't control it, it can make it extremely hard for businesses to plan spending or to create business plans or to keep up with just overall prices in the stock market. Since these businesses are struggling, they'll be spending less, and consumers, conversely, also will be nervous and will decide to save their money rather than spend, which will overall decrease the GDP of a country and entering them into a recession. In 1921, pre-depression, as defined in the Financial Encyclopedia from the National Bureau of Economic Research, in 1921, pre-depression in July, there was a rapid increase in value of stocks in the stock market. Since prices were rising so high in the stock market, there was a highly unregulated deflation taking place. The government chose in the United States not to step in and had poor monetary policy. This caused currency values to increase at a rapid rate, and businesses and banks just could not keep up. Eventually, this lack of confidence and inability to keep up on the business and bank size caused a recession to occur due to a lack of investing and spending. In conclusion, I think that everyone needs to have a good array of what's going on in a recession, because a recession is something that can overall have a large impact on your decision to start a career, to start a business, to invest in the market, or just to go purchase goods and spend or save. A recession occurs when GDP is lowering, and I would like to thank you all for listening to me. Here's my crowd.